I need to tell you guys a story about the worst thing that has ever happened to me in my entire life. So, I'm going back a good couple of years now. We're talking probably 2018, maybe 2017, I think 2018, probably 2018, and I'm in London. I'm down in London visiting my girlfriend, who now stays with me up in Scotland, but I was down there visiting her for her birthday. And we were going out for her birthday. We're spending a day in the city centre of London. So we're about London, and we were going to this show. And now this show was an Alice in Wonderland experience. So you go into this show, if you've ever been to, for example, there's the Edinburgh Dungeons or the London Dungeons, or there's I'm sure there's one in Amsterdam, the Amsterdam Dungeons. These are different attractions all over the world. And you go in, and it's very much an interactive performance that you walk around and you have people walking through this performance in costumes. You're going from room to room and they give you a little interactive performance and they interact with the audience and you keep going around and yada yada. Anyway, this Alice in Wonderland thing was very, very similar. So for example, you walked in and we had a little performance at the beginning, people talking to us, but the first thing you do is everyone gets a choice. Do you want to drink this little thing? Or do you want to eat this little thing? And you actually get a little drink or you get to eat something. And you get to choose one or the other. Okay? And now you take that thing and one of them is going to make it so you go this path. You go this path of the show, you go to the left. And the other one makes it you go to the path to the right. So one you're taking this little sweet and you're going to grow or shrink. I can't remember which was which, but one made you grow and one made you shrink. And basically the set you start walking through and it changes the story. Me and my girlfriend get separated because they're trying to separate groups and whatever, so we go separate ways and we're going through this performance. Anyway, a few hours before this performance, we had been and spent a long, boring time in the Tate Art Gallery, okay? It was, oh my god, so boring. Anyway, we'd spent some time in there and afterwards we went for lunch. We went for lunch to a place where I had a burger, and I had a burger with black pudding on it, and I had a lot of black pudding on this burger, and I was like, I'm not so sure if I should eat this, but it is delicious. And I think it upset my stomach a little bit because I'm in this Alice in Wonderland thing. We're in the middle of a little performance going on here, and my stomach starts going, and I'm like, oh no. Humpty Dumpty is in front of me, giving a wee speech, talking to another character. Humpty Dumpty is in front of me. One of my idols, Humpty Dumpty. And I think I'm actually about to shit myself in front of Humpty Dumpty. My stomach begins growling, it begins just throbbing, and my bowels are inflamed. I am in a lot of pain, and I genuinely think, oh no, I need to get out of here or I'm actually going to shit myself. So, very rude of me, I interrupt Humpty Dumpty and I say, hey, I know this is maybe not ideal for everyone else watching this performance, but I gotta get out of here. How do I get to the toilet? And they said, well, give us a couple of minutes to wrap up here and we'll get you to the toilet. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is kind of an emergency for me, but okay, I'll do my best, I'll hold on. So I'm holding on, I'm standing around, I'm almost jogging on the spot, just holding it in, crossing my legs. And the performance ends a couple minutes later. And the guy speaking to Humpty Dumpty comes over with me and he says, hey, everyone else, you go that way. I'm taking this gentleman this way. So I go with the guy and we walk over through this little maze of different rooms. And I would have been lost without the guy, honestly. And he stops me at this corner and he says, wait here. And he disappears for a minute. And I'm like, oh shit, he just left me here to shit or something. I don't know what's going on. And he's left me. And he comes back with this guy. And this person holding a walkie-talkie. And he comes back and says, this gentleman needs to the toilet. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, okay, we'll deal with it. So this guy leaves and leaves me with this other person with a walkie-talkie. And the person says, you know, if you go to the bathroom, you might not be able to get back into the show. And they're going over all this crap. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. Just get me to the bloody toilet before I shit myself all over your nice clean floor. And they say, okay. So they use their walkie-talkie and say, hey, we got someone here who needs to go to the toilet. And they say, okay, we'll be there in a minute. And it's like, and the woman then tells me, okay, 5 minutes. And maybe 5 minutes before they get here and take me, because that's how long the walk is. So I'm standing there another few minutes, maybe, I don't know, 3 minutes or something. Someone comes and gets me. This feels like an eternity, because I swear to God, I'm about to shit myself. This person comes and collects me. I'm sure it's a woman. She comes and collects me, and she's like, okay, come this way. And I'm like, okay, I need to be a bit fast though. And she's like, okay. And so I'm like, oh, and she's repeating to me, you might not be able to get back in. Is that okay? And I'm like, yeah, that's fine with me. I just need to get to the toilet. And we're going through this little maze. And I'm going through this maze. And we're following around the route, and we're getting out, and it takes me a good few minutes to get out. We get to where the bathroom is, and I'm like, oh boy, there's the toilet. So I burst in through the door, and oh my god, no. There's only one cubicle. Only one toilet stall. And someone is in there. The door is locked. And I'm standing there like, oh boy. So what I do is I think, okay, I'll go to the disabled bathroom. So I leave, and I turn around the corner to go to the disabled one, and oh boy, that door is also locked. Someone is in there too. So back into the men's I go, and I'm standing there, and I swear to God, I am at the point now where I think I am truly about to shit myself. I am like 99.9% of the way there. I cannot hold this in any longer. I am so desperate at this point. I turn to my left and I see a urinal, and I am thinking in my head, oh my God, I am going to have to take a shit in this urinal. I am preparing myself mentally to pull down my trousers and sit on a urinal hanging off the wall to shit, because I cannot hold this and I refuse to shit my pants. Just as I am about to sit on this urinal, just as I'm about to pull down my trousers, the door unlocks, and out comes this old man finishing up his shit or whatever. I almost barge past him. I am so desperate. I slam the door before he's even at the sink to wash his hands. I lock the door. I sit down. Okay. Crisis averted. So I finish my business. It takes me a few minutes. I come out. I wash my hands, I leave the bathroom, I find the woman who had brought me out here, and she's like, oh, you want to go back in? And I'm like, sure would like to go back in. So I head my way back in to go watch the show again. I catch up with my old little group, and it turns out, oh, we're actually just about to converge and meet two groups together. So we're meeting back up with my girlfriend's group, and finally everyone's coming back together. She's completely unaware that I've been out of here for the past 20 minutes or whatever, trying to get to the toilet. Anyway, we get back into the show finishes. It was a good little experience. We come out of there and we're thinking, okay, before we head back home, we're going to go to a nice little bar, have a nice little drink, maybe another little snack, and then we'll go. So we head off to this specific bar we had been looking for, and we're walking along the street. It's raining as well, which isn't ideal, not too heavy, but we're walking along the street, and oh boy, my stomach growls again. I feel the pain. I feel the thunder, and oh, hell was opening up in my bowels, and I said, sorry, I need to run and find a toilet. And I swear to God, I can't remember the last time I ran so fast in my life, but I jumped up and I ran. I had no idea where I was going. I ran, a combination of running and jogging. I janned, and I was janning down the street as fast as I could, just in a straight line, trying to find somewhere where I could use a toilet. And the first place I come upon after a 2-minute run is a bar. This pub, not even a bar, it's a pub. And oh, I open the door, and immediately I'm hit with a stench of drunkards and beer. This was a pretty rough seeming pub. This was not a clean pub. This was not a pleasant pub. I walked in. The people in there did not look very nice either. I looked immediately for the bathroom. Fortunately, it was seemingly almost right next to the front door I had walked in. So I went into the bathroom. There was one unisex toilet. It was for men, women, and disabled. One single toilet. No urinals, just one toilet. I walked in, I locked the door, barely locking it. It was like a thin little piece of metal. It was terrible. And I turned and I looked at this toilet. And I was like, do I really have to bare my arse to that? I swear to God, folks, this was the most disgusting toilet I've ever been in my life. It reeked. I could barely breathe without wanting to vomit. There was shit on the walls. I am not exaggerating. There was literal feces on the walls in this bathroom. The toilet itself was filled with toilet paper looked like it was half blocked, and there was shit in there. There was needles around the floor, one or two needles on the floor, like at the side of the wall. The toilet itself was covered in pee and bits of dirt. And I had no clue, what am I supposed to... I can't sit my arse down on that, but I have to, because I swear to God, I am going to shit myself. I am just as desperate as I was at that moment before I was going to shit in that urinal back at that show. I'm just as desperate as I was then. And the running hasn't helped. That's just made me shake it up a bit more. It's disturbed me more. And I'm like, oh no. And so, folks, this may be the most embarrassing thing I've ever told you on this channel, but I did bare my arse to that. I started off trying to hover, but I didn't have the strength in my thighs to hold me up long enough to do all my business. So it didn't take long before my skin made contact with the disgusting feces, dirt, infected toilet seat. I almost cried. Tears were almost coming down my face. I think the only thing stopping me was the fact that I was trying not to gag because of the smell in there. I finished up my business. I took the toilet roll, which was also terrible. You know, it was that kind of toilet paper where like your finger just ripped through it. I tried to touch the sink with like the back of my fingernail, like the tap, because it was like disgusting, and I scrubbed my hands as much as I possibly could, and I got out of there. I ran right out of that bar. And that ends the terrible experience. The rest of the day went fine. But that was that terrible experience. And I can tell you without a doubt, that is the worst experience of my life. It was the worst thing that has ever happened to me. I've told other stories on this channel before, years ago, about other bad things that happened to me. But this is the worst thing that has ever happened to me. It was one of the worst things I can ever think of happening to anyone. It was a very unpleasant experience. I mean, I didn't only think... Not only once this day did I think I was going to shit my pants. Twice this day I thought I was going to shit my pants. Only to end up having to sit on the most disgusting toilet seat I have ever come across in my life. You're welcome, society.